to a new video. Today we will be looking at warehousing and our inventory app. So when I say warehousing, we're actually going to be looking at locations and how to create locations. We'll step through the configuration first, which will be in the apps in the configuration, and then we'll go into the locations and we'll go ahead and create a couple of examples. While we're in the locations, creating those different examples, I'll explain to you a few features that Odoo has available that can be utilized for your business, and just to give you additional information on how configurations can work best for you. Okay, great. So to get started, let's go ahead and go to our inventory app. In order to have locations, we want to have the configuration set already. So right now, just as just to be clear, I am currently using a runbot of version 18. So we are talking about version 18. You will find a lot of similarities in version 19, however. So we'll go into our inventory app. We'll go into configuration and settings. Here is where I will look for locations. Oops, I have caps lock. And if you do not have storage locations checked already, this is where you will go ahead and check it for yourself. So since I am using a runbot database, there is already information in the database. So all the information in here is fictional. It is not real data. Great. So once that is configured, what you'll do is you will click save, and then you can either access your locations via here in the configuration, typing in locations again and hitting locations. But what you can also do is say where, in the overview of the inventory app, go to configuration, and you should have a locations option under warehouse management, which is right here. Perfect. So I'll go ahead and hit locations, and this database already has several of them. One thing that I do want to know is the names and how it appears. If you can see here, it looks like it is in a hierarchical organization, and that's because it is. You have a parent and a child kind of relationship when it comes to locations, and this will allow you to more easily organize your warehouse and get things organized in the way that they need to. We also have different location types. Internal, Odoo is currently filtering straight to internal. If we took this off, we would see that we had a location type for customer, inventory loss, virtual vendor, etc. If this is useful for all of you, I can make a separate video on location type, and I can explain a little bit further what that means. And then we also have company. For this database, this is a multi-company database, and this database also has multi-warehouses. However, if you are working with one company, you'll just see that one company here. If you're working with one warehouse, all of this works the same for one warehouse. And don't forget that you do have other custom fields that you can add. Okay, great. So I'll go back to my search bar up here, and I'll filter back to my internal location, because the locations that I'll be creating with you all are going to be internal locations. Great. So if I want to create a new location, what do I have to do? All I have to do is hit new. And then this is when we're brought to our naming section, what type of location this is, and more. So let's just start with the name. You'll see that there are two different, fields here at the top. These are the two most important. So parent location is important because this is basically the starting point of your location. So for example, let's go ahead and hit search more. I want to create a new location in my warehouse and stock. So maybe in my warehouse and stock, I have perhaps a different room. Maybe I'll call this room 1. I have several rooms in this. So we're going to head and create room 1. So I'll save this, and then I'll hit new, and then I'll create the warehouse stock room 2. So in warehouse stock, I now have two new locations, one that's called room 1 and one that's called room 2. And we can see it here. So as you'll see, you see the hierarchy as it continues to grow. Now, what if I have separate rooms in room 1 and room 2? Perhaps it's not rooms, maybe it's a cabinet, maybe it's a box, maybe it's a refrigerator. Well, I can actually create another location on top of warehouse stock room 1 and warehouse stock room 2. So let's go ahead and do that together. I'll hit new locations again. I'll look for that parent location. And in this case, I'm no longer going to select warehouse stock. If anything, I'm going to select warehouse stock room 1 because I'm attempting to build off of room 1. So room 1, I'll say that we have a red cabinet. Maybe the room has several different colored cabinets. So I'll create a red cabinet, and then I'll create a blue cabinet. I'll just put in the name, and I'll search for that parent location, which is going to be the warehouse stock room 1. Perfect. So if we go back to our locations, we'll see that we now have a blue cabinet and a red cabinet in room 1. And then what about room 2? Perhaps room 2 has refrigerators. So let's go ahead and hit new locations. Let's put refrigerator 1. And we'll select our parent location, which is going to be the warehouse stock room 2. Perfect. And we can do the same for a refrigerator 2. So I just duplicated it and then I changed the name to refrigerator 2. Great. So if we go down here, we now have our warehouse stock room 1 with a blue and a red cabinet, and our warehouse stock room 2 with a refrigerator 1 and a refrigerator 2. So that's how you can quickly add different locations within your warehouse and locations within locations. If you want to get a little bit more specific, I know that some people, for example, work in doctor's offices. In doctor's offices, you have many different types of material. Maybe it can be different gloves, different sizes, different, whether it's latex or non, and the list can go on. Perfect. So we've went over the location names. Now let's talk a little bit about the additional information, the cyclic counting, and the logistics. So location type, I talked a little bit about this. I just created location types internal, but you can always select vendor, virtual customer inventory loss, production transit, etc. So vendor most likely will refer to when you're purchasing. Maybe it's a holding location internally in Odoo. Virtual, this can be a holding location when inventory is being moved from maybe a warehouse to another warehouse or a location to another location. It just kind of depends on how you want to set it up. This can get a little advanced depending on what you want to do. Internal typically means like within your warehouse. Customer can mean when you are delivering to a customer. Inventory loss, self-explanatory, perhaps a scrap. Production, whenever you are producing any products. And then transit, when a product is in transit. So again, these are all a little bit more advanced. I can make a video later if that is something that we want. And same for storage category. So a lot of these are not necessary, but they can be helpful with your configuration in your database. As for company, since I am working in my company, San Francisco, it will default to the company that I'm working in. If I was working in a multi-company environment, I could absolutely change this, and then you can just save it for the location. Barcode, you can add a barcode to this location, and you can also add replenishment. So if we have this box checked off, Odoo can recommend this location as a replenishment. Okay, next is cyclic counting. What is cyclic counting? So within Odoo, there's already a yearly counting that Odoo has automatically in the configuration. However, what if you count your inventory every 30 days? Odoo currently, in the standard configuration, it does not have a setup for every 30 days. But because of this cyclic counting here, we can change that. We can add inventory frequency every 30 days, and you'll see the next expected basically counting day, which would be January 3rd, 2026. If you wanted 60, you can also add that. Maybe you count twice a year, so you can add how many days, and then you'll see the next expected counting time. And this goes by location. So just keep an eye on that. Maybe since we are in blue cabinet right now, maybe the material in blue cabinet doesn't need to be counted every 30 days. Maybe that one twice a year is fine, or every 60 days. You can really configure each location to your specificity. And as for cyclic counting, let me show you where we can find that setting in Odoo. So let's go to our configuration before we move into the logistics. So we'll go to configuration and setting. Perfect. And now that I'm in configuration, we'll see the operation is here on the bottom right. For the annual cyclic counting, or the annual inventory day and month of the inventory count. So this is already default within Odoo, but if you want to change that, you can actually change when you have your annual. Maybe you wait until the very last day of January. Maybe it's not until March. It just kind of depends on how you run your business. Perfect. So let's go back. I'll go ahead and discard those changes. Great. Now we're back in our blue cabinet. Let's go ahead and talk about the removal strategy. So this is an option that you can use, but Odoo is really great in the sense that you have a ton of options for your removal strategies. FIFO, which is known as first in, first out. This selects products with the earliest arrival dates. So it's useful for companies selling products that have short demand cycle, like clothing, for example. And then by using FIFO, you can prevent prolonged stock retention of specific styles. So this can be used for, of course, any other type of product that you may be selling. LIFO, which is the next on the list, would be the last in, first out. So what Odoo will do in this case, it'll pick the newest product on hand. And then based on the date that you entered the warehouse's stock. So based on the date that the product entered the warehouse. So every time an order is placed for products using the LIFO strategy, a transfer will be created for that lot and serial number that has most recently entered the stock. So that is how LIFO is used. There are many countries that don't use this just because you can potentially, deliver old or expired products to customers, which is not ideal. Next is FIFO, so first expired, first out. So this will target products for removal based on their assigned removal dates. So products must be removed from inventory before the removal date, which is a certain number of days before the product's expiration date. So we can make a video about this before, but basically you would configure this within the product itself. Okay, next is the closest location removal. So the closest location removal strategy is picked based on alphanumeric order of storage location titles. So the goal basically is to save the warehouse worker from taking a long journey to a further shelf when the product is also available at a closer location. So this can be handy for warehouses that are perhaps a little bit bigger. And then the last one would be least packages removed, or least packages removal. The least packages removal strategy, this is used to fulfill an order by opening the fewest number of packages. There are many businesses that do have big, medium, small size packages. And if Odoo is helping to open the fewest number of packages, it's ideal for maintaining organization within your stock. That way you don't have many or different multiple boxes open at the same time. And that's it for the removal strategies. I hope that that's helpful. You can always look at Odoo documentation when you have questions regarding removal strategies. I will be making videos in the future about how this actually works and how products move within Odoo using these removal strategies. Okay, and the last thing that I do, I believe it is the last thing, but the last thing that I do want to review with you is how to view current stock. So far we have reviewed how to set up locations, the hierarchy, cyclic counting, where we can, how we can configure that within each location, and then how to change the yearly warehouse counting, or excuse me, inventory counting within the inventory configuration. We reviewed the removal strategies, and now I want to talk about how you can view the current stock of your products. This part is very handy to know what you have in real time. But basically, what you can do, since we're already in the inventory app, we'll go to configuration and we will select locations. So we're basically just going back. So if I go back, we're already in one location, right? Warehouse stock, room 1, blue cabinet. I can either, go back by clicking the breadcrumb here, which is locations, or go to configuration locations, whichever is handiest. And I'm going to go ahead and select warehouse stock. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to the locations within Odoo, I'm selecting a location, and then what I want to do next is I want to view the products that are in that location. So there's a smart button up at the top called products, and if we click that, we will get a real-time view of the on-hand that we have within Odoo of each of the products that are in that location, as well as any forecasted sales price cost, maybe if there are any variants within those products. So this is very, very handy, whenever you want to see your products at a glance. And of course, you can also add different columns that you may find helpful whenever you are reviewing the, you know, real-time stock that you have within Odoo. And that is all I have for you all today. We reviewed quite a bit in this video. I really hope that this was helpful. As a review, we looked at setting up locations, the hierarchy within locations. We created different locations together with different parent and child locations. We also talked about cyclic counting, how to configure it within the locations itself, how to configure it within your configurations in the inventory app, the removal strategies, and how to view your current stock. And with that, I will leave you. Thank you so much for viewing. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.